Hey, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about this security keypad model that I created in Plasticity. I've had a few people ask me if I could do a tutorial on it, but I'm not going to cover the whole process because a lot of it's just basic modeling, creating primitive shapes and then extruding, offsetting, and stuff like that. So I'm just going to focus on some of the more complex parts of the model and show how I made the speaker and the keypad. And I'll show how to export your model to Blender for texturing and rendering at the end. And I assume you know what Plasticity is, but if you don't, it's basically a CAD program for artists. And I'll leave a link in the description if you want to download the trial version and check it out. So here I am in Plasticity. And to start out, I'll drag and drop this reference image into the viewport. And the image will drop in at the origin on the XY plane, but it's really small. And if I come up here and click on this down arrow and go to Preferences and Grid and Units, you can see I have my units set to inch, which means these grid lines are spaced at 1 inch apart. So right now the keypad is only about 5 inches wide. So I'm going to hit the number 7 key on the number pad to switch to top view. Then, with the image selected, I'll hit S for scale, and I'll scale the image up so it's roughly about 12 inches wide. You can also select the Move, Rotate, and Scale tools down here at the bottom if you want. But I like using the shortcut keys because it's faster. So now I want to rotate the image so it's vertical. So I'll hit R for rotate, then I'll grab the red circle here, and start rotating. And I'll hold down the Control key so I can snap the rotation to 5-degree increments and make sure I get it rotated perfectly vertical. Then I'll hit G to switch to the Move tool, and I'm going to move the image back so it's not sitting right at the origin. And the last thing I'll do is hit M to open up the material pop-up here, and I'll enable opacity and set culling to front only. This will allow me to see through the image if I rotate around behind it. So now I'll click OK to close this material window. And then I'll come up here and click this little lock icon, which will prevent me from accidentally selecting the image and moving it while I'm working. And now I'll hit the number 1 key on the number pad to switch to front view, and I can get started modeling. Now I'm sure you've noticed that this image is not a straight-on shot of the box. It's kind of tilted down, but that's okay. It's good enough to use for reference. And I think I'll work on the speaker first since it's easier than the keypad. But if you noticed in my rendering, my speaker doesn't look like the one in the image. I decided to do mine a little differently. So the first thing I'll do is select the center circle and then click at the approximate center of the speaker in the image and then drag out. Don't hold down your mouse button though. Just click to set the center point and then move your mouse until you get the size you want. Then click to end the command. And now if I click inside the circle, that will automatically put me into the extrude command. So I'll grab this handle and extrude up a little bit. Then I'll grab this white circle and that will allow me to taper in a little bit. And then I can go back and forth until I get the shape I want. And once I'm happy with it, I'll right-click to exit the command. Then I'll come around to the back side, and I'll click this face to select it, and then extrude it back a little bit to create this little flat section here. And again, I'll right-click to exit the command. And now I'll come back around to the front, and select this front face, and then I'll hit O for offset, or you can come down here and click the offset button. But the button works a little differently. If you click the button, you have to set the offset distance by adjusting the slider. And it's a little difficult to control, so I like using the keyboard shortcut O because then I can simply drag my mouse to adjust the offset distance and then click to exit the command. And now I'll select this face again and extrude it back. And now I want to soften these sharp edges. So I'll click on an edge to select it, and then shift click on this other edge to add to the selection. Then I'll zoom in here so I can see what I'm doing. And now if I grab this handle and drag my mouse to the right, I'll create a fillet, and if I drag it to the left, I'll create a chamfer. So I want to put a little fillet radius on these edges. So I'll drag to the right, maybe something like that. Then right-click to exit the command. And now I want to do the same thing here on this edge, but you see this edge is blue, and that's because my original circle is still here, as you can see over here under the curve section. And if I select it, I can move it over so you can see it. I could delete it, but I'm going to need it again in a minute, so I'll just hide it for now by clicking on the eyeball icon. But I still can't fillet this edge because these are two separate parts. If I select this top portion and hit G, I can move it away from the bottom part. So I'll select the top part, then Shift select the bottom part to add to the selection. Then I'll come down here and click this Boolean button, or you can hit Q to open the Boolean window. And now you see the top part is blue and the bottom part is red. And that's because I have difference selected. I want both parts to be blue, so I'll click Union and then hit OK. And now this is one solid part. And now I can select the edge, drag to the right, and put a small fillet on the edge. And now I'm done with this part, so I'll rename it to speaker base so I know what it is. And then I'll hide this part and unhide my circle, because now I need to create the speaker grill. So I'll come over here and click the sphere button. Then I'll move my mouse over until I snap to the center of the circle. Then I'll click to set the center point, and then move my mouse over until I get a decent sized sphere. And if you hold down the Shift key, that'll help to control the size of the sphere. But I accidentally right-clicked, so it's a little too big. But that's fine, I'll just scale it down. And now I'll rename this to speaker grill, and then I'll hide the circle and unhide the speaker base. And now I'm going to select the sphere and move it back. And I think that actually looks pretty good. But you might need to scale the sphere and move it back and forth until you get something that has the right curvature without sticking out too far. And now I need to get rid of everything except this part of the sphere that's inside the base. So I'll hide the sphere for a minute. And I'm going to select this face here, then hit Shift D to duplicate it. And now I'll hide the base. Then I'll click on the face to select it, hit E for extrude, and pull it forward. And now I'll unhide the sphere, select it, then select the cylinder, and then I'll go to Boolean. I'll select intersect, and then click OK. And that will get rid of everything except this part that I need. But now, before I start poking holes in the grill, I want to make it thinner. So I'm going to select the grill and hit Shift D to duplicate it. And then I'll drag it back, scale it up a little bit, and then move it forward until I have the thickness I want. Then I'll select the grill, Shift select the duplicate, go to Boolean, make sure I'm set to difference, and then hit OK. And now I have a thin grill. And now the last thing I need to do is poke some holes in it. So I'm going to hit number 1 on the number pad to switch to front view, unhide my circle, and just scale it down until it looks about right. Then I'll hide the grill and click in the center of the circle. Then I'll grab the handle and extrude out, then right-click to exit. And now I'll unhide the grill and switch back to front view by hitting the number 1 key. And now I need to duplicate this cylinder a few times. And to do that, I'll come down here and click the rectangular array button. And you can see as I move my mouse around, I'm getting a linear array of cylinders. So I want to set the number to 5 and then drag straight up until the spacing looks about right. Then click OK to exit. Now I just need to check behind and make sure all the cylinders are poking through the back side. And now I need to do some arrays for each of these cylinders, so I'll select this one here. But you need to make sure you don't have any commands active, so I'll click over here off the model and then right-click to make sure no commands are active. And now I can select the cylinder. And this time I'll choose radial array. And you can see as I move my mouse around, the cylinders are jumping all over the place. So I need to click to set the center point of the array. And then I just need to decide how many holes I want. And I think 8 is fine for this one, so I'll click OK. Then I'll select this next one, go back to radial array, set the center point, and I'll do 12 for this one. Then I'll select this next one, go to radial array, set the center point, and I'll do 16 for this one. And then I'll select this last one, go to radial array, set the center point, and I'll do 20 for this one. And now I just need to turn these cylinders into holes. So to do that, I'll select the Grille, and then I'll hit 3 on the number pad to switch to side view. So now I'll hold down Shift and window select all the cylinders. Then I'll go to Boolean, Difference, and click OK. And now I have holes in the Grille. And I don't need this circle anymore, so I can delete it and unhide the base. And that's about it for the speaker. So this video ended up being a little longer than I thought it was going to be. So I'll do another video to show how I did the keypad. And that's going to do it for this one. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post them below. And as always, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.